micro, nano education for everyone.
So our second presentation today, this is going to be something that's cool. I'm really happy that they're working with us. They're from an organization called CAST, and they're going to be creating a ePortfolio that students in this program can log into and use as a way to show what you know in research in micro nanotechnology. So I think it's Alison and Cara will be sharing about the MNTfolio program. So thanks, Alison and Cara, and looking forward to the presentation.
Great, thanks. So like Jared said, we are going to walk you through MNTfolio a little bit today, and we're going to poll the students for a little bit of information that will help us customize the tool. So just a quick agenda. Cara and I would like to introduce ourselves. We're going to do a quick walkthrough of the MNTfolio application. And then we are going to do an upvote. So we're going to put some competencies into a poll and have you identify which are the ones that you're most interested in working on during your undergraduate research experience. So I'm Alison Driscoll. I've been with CAST for about 4 years, project managing a number of research, design, and development projects. I've worked on a couple of other ATE projects, and right now we're working with Access ATE to develop case stories around implementation of UDL in higher ed. Also working on a project to build a makerspace in an affordable housing community, among other things. So I'm glad to be here today, and it's nice to meet you all.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cara Wojcik, and I am a user experience designer at CAST in the research and development arm of the organization. I come to CAST from being a visual art teacher at a middle school. So that's kind of my frame of reference and kind of connection to education. So it's exciting to be working in the higher ed space now. And as Alison mentioned, we've done quite a few projects in the past in workforce development and in career exploration. So we're really excited to be expanding into micro nanotechnology, because I'm going to have to admit I'm not a subject matter expert, but what I've learned so far is super fascinating, and I'm excited for you guys to teach me. Although, Jill, I have to tell you, I feel like I'm in the wrong field after your presentation, because that was so cool, and I really want to build a marine robot. So I'm feeling a little jealous right now. One of the high schools that we worked with in Nashua, New Hampshire a year or two ago had a marine robotics course that was working on building robots to pick a penny off of the bottom of a tank. And that was at the high school level, and it was fascinating. So I'm excited, and I wish I could be like an honorary part of the PCC team. So I'm feeling a little pang of jealousy right now, if I'm honest.
Come aboard.
If you know how to solder, I think Jared will take you.
As a visual artist, I actually have done some welding. So soldering and welding are in my tool belt, but that goes without saying. I'll pass it back over to you, Alison.
Thanks. So just a little bit about where we're coming from. So CAST is a nonprofit research organization, and CAST is the organization that pioneered the Universal Design for Learning framework. So UDL, for short, is a framework to guide the design of learning environments that are accessible and challenging for all. And in doing so, we're aiming to change the design of learning environments rather than changing the learner. So to that end, we have built some ed tech tools and products that led to the creation of this folio tool that we're going to be showing you a little bit more about.
Okay. So what we're going to be sharing with you guys today, as Alison mentioned, is an application that we're kind of terming or coining MNTfolio. And what that is a mobile application that is going to help you guys demonstrate and document evidence of the skills that you're building throughout the courses that you're taking. And throughout the process of doing all the documentation, you're going to be building a digital portfolio. And that digital portfolio is going to specifically be linked to the industry standard skills and competencies that micro and nanotechnology technicians would need to know in order to enter the workforce. So at the end, you'll have a whole, portfolio of your skills that are really aligned to those competencies that you can share with potential employers to, if you're going for an internship, if you're going for a job, you'll have this kind of multimedia portfolio that really kind of highlights the different areas of the skills that you've built through this program and, your readiness for a career in the field. So that's the goal behind the project. And we want to share with you what it's going to look like. So at its simplest, this is kind of the flow that it works for both learners and instructors. So on the instructor side, what your teachers are going to be doing is creating these things called challenges in the app. And they'll create the challenges for you guys and post them to you. And they're going to be kind of organized in a couple of different categories. We'll go over those categories in a second. And they're going to be like prompts that'll get you to demonstrate a specific skill. And the way that you respond to that is up to you. But then they'll review those responses that you create and give you feedback. And then you can revise your work. You can, do the challenge again. It depends. And then when your response is final, you can add it to a folio. So on your side, you're going to be the ones documenting the evidence. And we're really focused on documenting hands-on learning. So if you're doing something in a lab, shoot a photo of it, take a quick video of it, and really be able to show the hands-on work that you're doing in order to build these skills. And then after you get the feedback from your instructors, they might say, hey, can you, show a different aspect of this, or can you catch another, part of it? And you can revise your work, you can edit. And then after you have it exactly right, you can add it to this folio, which you can share publicly. So the rest of the app is private. It's only for you and your instructors. But there's going to be kind of like a publicly facing part of it, which you can share on your own terms. So you could, give a portfolio that just highlights your skills to a potential employer and say, hey, check out this link. It shows a couple of a couple examples of the skill sets that I have that are going to be relevant to this job opportunity. And you can decide exactly what you want to share with people. So let's take a look at the app. So what we're going to show you guys today is a prototype. So this is actually just pictures of what the app is going to look like, but kind of hooked up to simulate the functionality of the app itself. But it's a responsive app, so it's going to work on your phone, it's going to work on a laptop, it's going to work on a tablet, whatever you are using. And there's nothing to download. It's just a web app. So you'll be able to log in and everything's cloud-based. So you won't have to download anything onto your phone. But everybody will get a link and you'll be able to log in and you'll get your own account. And we'll get you guys set up with those soon. And this is what you're going to see. So you'll see a list of challenges when you open up the app that your instructors have created within these different categories. And we're still working through what the content is actually going to be for this. So we've met with a bunch of your instructors so far who have weighed in on what these challenges, what these categories are going to be for the challenges. And our working kind of setup for that right now are the following. It's going to be foundational knowledge, which is really the the technical skills you're going to need to just get started in the programming. So it might be math skills, basic science skills, writing skills, stuff like that. And then in addition, career skills. So it might be something like, creating a resume or doing an interview, things like that. And then there's going to be these very much subject-specific challenges that are going to get into materials, photonics, microsystems, biotechnology, and those are going to be much more subject matter specific that you may not get into until you're further along in the program itself. So it's pretty, it'd be logical that as you're just starting out, you'll be focusing on these first two categories. So as you get challenges posted to you, you'll be able to take a challenge. So you can click on one, and this is essentially what you'd see. You'll get a prompt from your teacher. So this one's asking you to write a blog post. So talk to a layperson like me who has, kind of a very basic understanding of what micro and nanotechnology actually is, and write a blog post that kind of like explains it in layman's terms. So your instructor may also embed a video or embed, an article for you to read or some other type of resource. And then when you go to respond, you're going to be responding with multimedia. So if you create a blog post, you could actually just add the link. If you wanted to enter the response, the text response here, you could do that as well. And then add an image to go with it if you had one. You could upload a video. It'll really accept whatever type of file format you want to do. And then the last step, and this is kind of the most crucial piece of it, is to tag your response with the competencies that it demonstrates. So we're still figuring out these competencies as well. And these are really going to be very specific to your field and have a good tie to, the skills needed to go into a field and go into a career in micro nanotechnology. So you may decide, okay, in this particular challenge response, I'm showing my writing skills because I wrote a blog post. I'm showing my understanding of scale because I'm explaining it in layman's terms to somebody who doesn't really understand it. And maybe I'm also communicating scientific and technical information, but in a way that's accessible to most people. So you would tag the ones that you feel like you demonstrated the best. And these are going to be pre-selected by your instructors. So they might give you a set of, 5 or 6 of these and say, okay, you may demonstrate, a couple of these. And then you as the learner gets to choose, okay, yeah, I definitely demonstrated this particular one. And then you would tag it. And then you'd post your response and it goes back to your instructor to give you feedback. And it also goes into your folio. And you can edit it, you can revise it from there. So that's a very, very quick overview of what the application kind of functions like. And as we get further along in the usage of it, we'll go deeper into the other things it can do. The only other thing I did want to mention is that there's also a section for videos. So you guys will also have kind of a repository of resources built right in that are going to be relevant to what you're learning about. So that's a library that we're going to be building up as well. Well, Jared, I know we're getting to the top of the hour, so I want to turn it back to you, but I just want to say thank you for everybody who was participating, because it's really good for us to hear from you, because as we customize this tool, we want it to suit, what you guys are going to be using it for. So we'll come back to you with the results and have the finished product in a couple of months.
Great. Yeah, I echo Cara's sentiment. Thank you all so much for participating.
All right, cool. Thanks, Alison and Cara. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask the presenters?
I have a question. When you say instructor, is that the same as mentor, or is it a different person?
Yeah, we're going to leave it open so that anybody who is working with students can create challenges. So that would include the mentors. We'll make sure that anybody who's going to be in a position to create challenges has an account.
Cool. Tanya, you have a question?
Thank you.
So when I was teaching at Cal Poly Pomona, there were a lot of student teams working on different types of vehicles, and it was really amazing to see how these interdisciplinary teams come together. So not only the mechanical engineering type students, the electrical, but you need project managers, people to keep everyone on schedule. There's so many roles, and of all of the projects I've seen, those had the most real life opportunities to build these communication and project skills. So I think that MATE ROV is an amazing opportunity. I highly recommend people to consider it. Even if you think you don't have the skills, there may be a place for you to fit in. So don't be afraid if you think you have to build one of those or program.
Hey, Tanya, I appreciate that. And something I was trying to articulate, but you did it so much more successfully than I did in terms of the team. It really is about all these different folks with all these different skill sets and coming from different disciplines. My favorite story that I'll share real quick is Copiah Lincoln Community College in Wesson, Mississippi. They pulled together their physics department and the students there, and their I think it's electronics and engineering technology department students. And when we started to really emphasize that budgeting was an important part of the project and project management, the students looked at each other and thought, well, none of us know how to do that, run a budget, manage a budget. So they went to their accounting department on campus and said, hey, we're looking for a student who'd be willing to be part of this team and basically serve as our CFO. And so they got a student, and he was amazed that, I think his comment was that was the most real world experience he ever had. And so again, just showing how you can bring together, maybe you're not the technical person or the programmer, but you've got something to contribute to this team.
And really quick, I just wanted to lift up one of the questions and responses in the chat. Somebody asked about and I was going to ask a question about how does the portfolio for the casting, how does the portfolio sort of help me get a job? How do I share these skills to other people, so on and so forth? And so I'll just read the response, but feel free to expand on it. But there's a shareable link to the MNTfolio that can be shared with people directly or on social media platforms or platforms like LinkedIn. I wanted to give you the opportunity to respond more fully if you wanted to.
Sure. Yeah. So, so when a student designs, has responded to a number of challenges and wants to put together a set of challenge responses that showcases a particular competency or set of competencies, there's a feature to create a folio, and then there's a shareable link so that you could send that folio out to somebody who doesn't, without having them have to log into the platform. So it's something you could post or share digitally.
Got it. Okay, that's perfect. And I know we're up on time. I don't want to belabor this, but I do want to really lift up this point that both presenters and there were questions about the how do I engage in the non-technical aspects of this program and of a competition like MATE. And I really have to emphasize that there really is no sort of hierarchy of what's more important than the other. And I'll use an example of actually how I met Jared to demonstrate this. It's really important that there's people that know how to do science, but it's also really important that there's people that know how to explain what doing science is and explain why it's important. There's always people that come to the Hill every year, come to Washington, D.C. and visit their elected officials, asking for more money to the National Science Foundation, asking for more money for National Institutes of Health. And a lot of times it falls on deaf ears because they're not good at communicating why science is important to people. And so I actually met Jared when he came with students doing science presentations on the Hill. And it was just more palpable because we like to hear from students more than adults, but also because he was really good at breaking down why is this important educationally, why is this important to higher education, why is it important to X, Y, and Z. And so there are a lot of there are some people. So I used to help run the MATE ROV regional competition in Pennsylvania, Villanova, and there were some people who were their only job was they were going to sell their team's product. Right, they were going to convince the judge that their team's robot and the way they went about it was the best way, and they had very little. They had very little technical knowledge. Right, they understood what was happening. They were learning, but their skill was really just the persuasion, the selling, the presenting information. So there's whatever skill you already have is something that you can bring to the table, not just with the MATE RV competition, but with the overall research program. And so you use that skill you bring to kind of broaden out and branch into other things that you are still learning and want to learn. So again, please don't feel like if you don't have the technical knowledge that there's not a place for you right now that you need to wait. There's no waiting. You're here. Let's get it done.
Amen to all that you said. And I think that one of the we've heard comments similar to that before from our team mentors. They love the fact that it's a real well-rounded program and allowed them to pull in some of their students who maybe weren't technical but were graphically inclined or were really fantastic at writing. So to pull everybody together, because the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. I like saying that these days.